Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Åshild, and today I'm going to do a ranking video. I'm going to rank all of my 14 eyeshadow palettes, and I'm really excited about this. I don't think I've ever done a video like this. I won't be including the Inglot Freedom System palettes that I have. I kind of look at these as single eyeshadows, but I will say I like them a lot. I think Inglot eyeshadows are very good. But other than that, I have small palettes, I have bigger palettes that I'm going to include today, and I will say I love all of these palettes. I try not to do any sort of impulse buys, but there still are some misses here and there, and there's really just one eyeshadow palette that I dislike out of these 14 eyeshadow palettes that I own. But all of the other ones I would say that I have a good relationship with and I do enjoy using. So with that in mind, we're going to start at the bottom. At number 14 is the Essence I Like to Move It, Move It. This was a purchase I did after watching plenty of YouTubers raving about this eyeshadow palette, and I thought it looked very convenient for traveling because it had a nice mirror and 6 eyeshadows, and the color story looks very nice. It's the kind of colors I really do enjoy. But I think only half of this palette is good. The mattes are pretty good and the metallics are terrible in my opinion. So I don't know if this is a dud or what, because I've seen so many people loving these kinds of palettes or this range of palettes. So I don't know, but I did not like this. I was very disappointed when I got this. So I'm not sure what to do with this, if I'm gonna declutter it or depot a few of the shades that I do like. I've really been trying to work with this, but I just can't seem to make the metallics work. They're in lack of pigmentation, they are patchy, they blend away to nothing. So yeah, I don't like it. I'm sorry. So this is coming in on number 14. And also the metallics kind of swatch okay, I guess, but when I apply them, see, that's pretty good. But when I apply them on the eyes, it's not good at all. It smells good though. So coming in at number 13 is the Zoeva En Taupe palette. Now this is a palette I really enjoy. I'm gonna show you like this so you can see the color story, because I don't want to give anything away. This is my Pan That Palette project for this year. So I have been using this a lot this year, and I really do enjoy using this palette. The only thing is that there's a few shades in here that doesn't perform all that well. So I wonder if this is because it's one of my oldest palettes, so it's kind of lost its pigmentation, because I can't quite remember if it's always been like that. I feel like it used to be a lot better, but I can't say it for sure. But Zoeva eyeshadows are known to be good quality. I enjoy both the mattes and most of the metallics, but again, there's a few metallics that I'm not really too into. But it's a great taupe eyeshadow palette, so if you're into taupes, I think this is a really good palette to buy. And they're also affordable, but it doesn't have a mirror, so I'll say that. And yeah, I like this palette. I do, but again, there's a few shades that aren't that great anymore. So here's some swatches. I really love, this is like my favorite shade in that palette. Just a cool lavender, purplish shade. But I know I'm gonna miss that palette because I really enjoy having some taupes in my collection, so I might get another taupe eyeshadow palette. Alright, next up is the Beautybay Bright Matte 9-color palette. I just basically got this palette because I needed a few more just bright colors in my collection. Not something that I use on an everyday basis, although these are really nice to just pair with a neutral palette and just choose one of the shades to kind of make it a little bit colorful. But yeah, I think it's nice to have a few bright colored eyeshadows to choose from whenever you feel like it, and this was a very affordable and good quality eyeshadow palette, so I'm really happy that I got this one. It's coming down at number 13, 12, sorry. Just because it's not a palette I reach for at all. It's just, I feel like it's nice to have. So it's not a good like everyday palette. It's not a palette I can use on its own. It's not a palette I will truly miss if I didn't have it in my collection. I just feel like it's fun, it's convenient, it's nice, good to have. But so that's why it's at number 12. And so right above that is the Beautybay Pastels eyeshadow palette. This was a palette I bought, was it last year or the year before? I'm not sure actually. But this is a beautiful pastel eyeshadow palette. I get a lot of good use of it in the springtime, and that's really just the only reason why I've decided to put this at number 11, is because I don't feel like it's a palette that really works in the winter time or fall time. So just because I don't feel like I can use it all year round, and also I feel most of the time I do combine it with other eyeshadows. I can use it as as the only eyeshadow palette I use, but most times I prefer to compare it with some neutrals. So the quality is really good, very affordable palette, so I feel like you get a lot of good eyeshadows for a good price. I did look at a lot of pastel eyeshadow palettes before I decided to purchase this one. If you're looking for like a pastel, I mean the Natasha Denona palette is really popular these days, but if you feel like you can't afford that one, I think this is a good, not replacement, not dupe by any means at all, but just to try out pastels, just to see if you like it, this is a good palette for that. Then coming in at number 10, the Colourpop Take Me Home palette. This was like a gift with purchase, I think it was. It's just a very small, very travel-friendly eyeshadow palette with neutrals, warm neutrals. I think it's really nice to have this in the summertime when I'm traveling. It's just very convenient, small, and yeah, travel-friendly. And the colors are nice. The reason why I'm putting it at number 10 is that I do like to combine it with a little bit more of a fun color, because even though these are really great for an everyday look, I tend to get a little bit bored using only this, and this only for days and days. So I don't feel like for me that it's a standalone palette, but I think for a lot of people it would be. So if that makes sense. But I do really enjoy this palette. Next we have an eyeshadow palette that was gifted to me, so I didn't choose this palette, and I was kind of surprised that I really liked it as much as I do. This is the Mekka, the Makeup Battle Punk Helle Beauty's collab with Makeup Mekka. This is also a kind of small and convenient eyeshadow palette with 9 shadows. I enjoy all of these shades really. I don't tend to go for too dark eyeshadows, so I stay around this area most of the time, but I really enjoy that pop of yellow. It's really nice. So here's just a little swatch of those shades. I'm not a good swatcher, sorry. But yeah, I really enjoy this one. All right, next up is the Tati Beauty palette. This is when it's about to start getting really difficult to choose which comes first. But yeah, this landed on this ranking because when I use this, I don't really get inspired. There's so many shades. It's a very heavy palette and I can't really bend it back. And even though I really enjoy the shades, I feel like there's a lot of repeats. This is metallic. These are just exactly similar if you ask me. These does have some like glitters to them, like matte with glitters, but you can't really see it once they're applied, so I can't really see a difference between these two rows. And these are really nice metallics. I do like these glitters, but I just don't often use glitter. It's like once or twice a year, like New Year's Eve or something like that. I don't know. I don't love this palette. I'm really glad I have it because it's discontinued. You can't get it anymore. And the quality is amazing. It's almost too good. The pigmentation is just, it's a lot. It's a little bit difficult to work with because you need the tiniest amount. And if you go too heavy, just a little bit too heavy, it's really difficult to go back. I think I could absolutely do without it. I don't think I would miss it too much if it was gone. I always get nice eyeshadow looks from it, so it's not really, I don't know. I feel like it's really difficult with this palette because it's an extremely good quality. I can't argue that, but it's kind of, you know, it's not the first one I grab for. It's not one that makes me excited to use, so I guess that's why it's ranked somewhere in the middle, but it's still an amazing palette. The eyeshadow looks I end up with turns out really nice, so, you know, it's still good. Really good. All right, next one up is one that surprised me. It surprised me that I ended up ranking it this high, because of the fact that I'm not really typically into mattes, and I feel like it's a palette I often feel like I have to combine with other shades. But yeah, Milani Most Loved Mattes. This is so good. And the reason why I'm ranking it at number 7 is because it's an affordable palette. You get 12 shades. They're all really good. There's no duds in this palette. The quality is amazing. I like all the shades. It's convenient. It's small enough for me to travel with it. Nice mirror, cruelty-free, all of the good stuff. It's just an overall great palette. But the thing is, it's all mattes, and I often feel like I want to combine it with some metallic shades or a metallic shade. But at the same time, you can definitely make it work and make it look really nice with just a matte eyeshadow look using this. So that's why it's ranked at number 7. Next on my list is the Natasha Denona Mini Retro Palette. I love this thing. It is so good. I'm so glad I got it, but I was a tiny bit disappointed because the greens in here are not really green. They're more grayish. But when that's said, it's a great travel friendly palette. It's expensive, but the quality is high. It's really, I like all of the shades. I think the color story is nice. I can get quite a few eyeshadow looks or varieties out of this small palette, and they all look really nice. It's so easy to work with. I actually have a separate video on this and a few of the other palettes that I'm mentioning today. Next up is a palette I'm really glad I got my hands on because I think it's really hard to get it now because it's such an old palette, but I got this in December, late December, I think, of last year. And this is the Anastasia Norvina palette. Such a beautiful palette. Love the mattes, love the metallics. I get great eyeshadow looks from this. I love the color story. You get so much variety from this, from this palette. And the only thing is that I feel like you have to use a glitter glue to make these metallics stay on the lid and not transfer all over the face. And also this shade is not great. It's a little bit patchy, the Soul shade. But other than that, I love this palette. It's just so good. I'm so happy I got this palette. Oh, and another thing, there's a lot of fallout. If you can handle that, then I think this is a great palette. I mean, these are just amazing. So good. But I had to have this next eyeshadow palette come before the Norvina. I was really unsure of which one to put first or above, but I ended up putting the Huda Beauty New Nude palette at number 4, just because the color story is even more me. I think if I were to put out like a color themed eyeshadow palette, it would be something like this. All of these shades are amazing. They're so beautiful, and I get beautiful eyeshadow looks from using this eyeshadow palette. And yeah, it's like a romantic, soft, pretty eyeshadow palette for every day if you enjoy rose, mauves, pinks, that kind of color story. Gorgeous. The only reason why this is not higher on the ranking list is because of these 2 glitter shades and also this cream base. I mean, this was fine, but it's now pretty dry, and I don't like using glitter on my eyes. So, but other than that, the other shades are just extraordinary. I love them. So now we're at my top 3 eyeshadow palettes. This is so exciting. I love these kinds of videos. They're just, yeah. I was going to put this palette at the top because every time I think of what would be my favorite palette, what would be the palette I would really miss, this is what I tend to think of. So at number 3, it's the So Jaded palette with Katleen lights and Colourpop. This is discontinued now, I think. I don't think you can get it anymore. So I'm really glad I got it right before it was discontinued. I think I got it in... I got this palette in October of 2020. And I'm really glad I did. I had this on my wish list forever because I love Katleen lights, so that's a given. But I'm no longer that into bigger palettes, but this was kind of still not too big, and it had so many shades in here, and I got really excited about the fact that she had named all the shadows after crystals, and I love crystals, so that was really cool. And it has a lot of like jewel shades. I love this. Okay, so the reason why I enjoy this palette so much is the inspiration and joy it gives me. I love using this. It's so much fun doing palette bingos with this palette, and you can do so many combinations and varieties with this eyeshadow palette. There's neutrals, orange, green, purple, gold, blue, teal, pink. I mean, you name it. It has it all. And the finishes are, I think this is sort of a super shock shadow. It's beautiful, but it's starting to dry out now, but it's gorgeous to top on top of every kind of eyeshadow, if you ask me. I'm not typically a green lover, but I love these greens. I always get really nice eyeshadow looks when I use these, and yeah, they just bring me so much joy. And that's the main reason why I've put this at top 3. And I know I will really miss this if I lost it or if it broke or something. So there's pretty much, I think, 3 reasons why this is not on top. One is that it doesn't have a mirror, which it's, you know, it's fine, but it's always convenient to have a mirror. Also, it has a few glitter shades, which I don't use at all. Also, it's a little bit too big for my liking, but then again, you get all these wonderful shades, so it makes it okay. So I just love this palette, but it didn't make it to the top, unfortunately. Lucky you if you already own it, and I feel sorry for the people who doesn't own this palette, because wow. Well, I guess you have to be a makeup lover or eyeshadow lover to enjoy this. If you're really just after an everyday kind of eyeshadow look, it's just too much to own a palette like this, but I'm really happy I have it in my collection. Oh, and the quality is outstanding. Great quality. All right, coming in at number 2 is a palette that is very new to me. I also got this one in late December of last year, and I'm very much surprised that this is above the So Jaded, but as I've been using it and kind of gotten to know it better, I realized that this is just a little bit better in different ways. So it's the BH Cosmetics Smitten in Switzerland palette. I got curious about these kinds of eyeshadow palettes watching Sarah Rose talk about hers. I don't think she owns the Smitten in Switzerland, but she talked about great quality and affordable cruelty-free palettes, and so I looked through them, and this is the one that I completely fell in love with. It's not a typically me palette, because there's like there's some greens and blues in here that's not typically me, but they're the perfect kinds of blues and greens. The thing about this, well, it's affordable, it's cruelty free, it's small, but it's not too small. It contains 16 shades, and I think it's great that they managed to include that many shades in a rather smaller eyeshadow palette. And this gives such a variety of looks. You can combine these, either go by like rows, you can see that these all really work together, or you can just yeah, you can do whatever you want. These all mix and match really well together. The metallics are of great quality. The mattes are really good. I love the fact that this is a great palette for the summertime, you know, with the orange and the kind of goldy warmer browns and all that. And then you have the pinks for the spring, you have the green and blue for the fall time, and you have even a really great black for more dramatic looks. It's just an all-around great eyeshadow palette. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this. It's almost like this should be on top, but because this is newer and I haven't played with it for that long, but the one that I chose that's on the top at number 1 is a palette that I've loved for years and years. And it's been my favorite one for such a long time. So that's the only reason, really. But this kind of gives me more variety than my number 1 palette. I mean, look at these. So, I mean, it's almost as if I want to share number 1 with both of these palettes, but just for the sake of it, at number 1, top ranked is the Colourpop You Had Me at Hello. This is an old Colourpop palette, but it just, it does it every time. It works so nicely. It has this shade that is just gorgeous. This is a very unique shade. I've never seen anything like this. And it's like one of those foolproof eyeshadow palettes where whatever I use, it turns out great. And the pigmentation is amazing. Both matte and metallics works perfectly. It's small and convenient with a mirror. That's also another thing. It doesn't have a mirror, the Switzerland palette, but the size is pretty similar. So yeah, I find it extremely hard to pick which one is on top, but just because I've loved this since the day I got it and first used it, years ago, I think this deserves the top spot. So yeah, those are all of my palettes. I'm very happy with all the palettes I have. I'm really glad that I can finally say that I enjoy all of my palettes, except from the Essence one that I don't really know what to do with. And it's, even though I have plenty of variety, it's still a small collection, so it's not too overwhelming, but I still have lots to choose from. So I'm really happy about that. And also the fact that most of these eyeshadow palettes are cruelty-free. I think the only one that's not cruelty-free is the Huda Beauty one. Other than that, they're all cruelty-free, so that's great. Now, what's on my eyeshadow palette wish list? Well, for years, the Juvia's Place palettes have really been dragging me in. There's all that controversy about Juvia's Place as a brand, so I don't know anymore, but I think those palettes are gorgeous. And then there's Viseart, a few of those smaller, like petite eyeshadow palettes. I've been eyeing one or two or three of those, but they're expensive, so I don't know. And when I decided to purchase these, I also looked at the bite-sized ones from e.l.f. They look really nice. I looked at the, I think it's Rose Water, and then a more nude one. I can't remember the name. But I saw a few mixed reviews, and the fact that they very easily shattered. And because the main reason why I wanted to get a smaller palette was that I wanted to get a palette that was convenient to travel with. So that's the reason why I ended up purchasing this one instead. And then when I couldn't make this one work, that's when I decided to get this one instead. And I'm really happy about that one. And I also have this one to travel with, so I'm good. And then, I mean, Colourpop have lots of great eyeshadow palettes, but they're just, again, it's overwhelming to me how many releases they have, and I can't keep up with them, and I'm afraid that some of the palettes that I really enjoy will be discontinued. Like I've been looking at the Going Coconuts and It's a Taupe, so I might purchase one of those. And there's also some Super Shock shadows I've been looking at. I've been wondering if the little quads from Charlotte Tilbury are worth the money. I don't know, but they look beautiful. And I think that's it. I would love to know which one is your absolute favorite eyeshadow palette of all time. Which one would you like really miss if you lost it? I would love to know. Those were all my eyeshadow palettes. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again in my next one. Bye!